Hello and welcome to yet another video. If you're new here, hello, welcome to my channel, and if you're coming back, it's always nice to see you. So today we are doing a wrap-up video for April. Can't believe it's already been 4 months, so this is already my 4th wrap-up video of the year. It's crazy, time goes by so fast. Like I said when I did the TBR video, I think I said it at least, but I didn't read as much this month as previous months, but I also read way more than I thought I would because I had my exams. I read literally 1 book over the last 2 weeks of April, so I read 7 books in total. 6 of those books were over 2 weeks, and then the last book was just the last 2 weeks, so it was very like random reading speed. Anywho, like I was saying in my May TBR video that I just did, I am finished with school, and so hopefully next month's reading wrap up will have a lot more books in it. But anywho, honestly we did 7, so like I can't complain. I think the first reading wrap up I did of these I only read 6 books. I did a lot of Kindle reading this month, so I literally only read 2 physical books. I was actually shook when I went to my bookshelves and I was like, wait, what did I read this month? Because I only had these 2 books, but then I realized the rest of it was on Kindle because I did a lot of finishing series. I did a finishing series I'm in the middle of vlog, so that was like most of my reading actually happened during that vlog, so feel free to go check that out. So then obviously all of those were on Kindle because I didn't buy the next books in the series, I just read them on my Kindle. So there you go. But yeah, honestly this month was kind of mid. It was okay. I read a 5-star. I had one 5-star book, then I also had a 2.5-star book, so the books were kind of all over the place, but all in all it was like an okay month. However, compared to the TBR that I set myself, so out of the TBR of 7 books that I set myself in the TBR video, I read 3. So that's not great because that means I didn't read 4, so we definitely failed that TBR. But to be fair, it was a way too ambitious TBR to set myself because some of the books were really chunky, such as, oh, it's not behind me, I don't know where it is, but Pride of the Orange Tree. Yeah, obviously that one didn't get read, but anyway, more on that later. But we read 3. We got some of them read, and I'm just gonna take that as a win and move on. Without any further ado, I'm sure you don't want to hear me yapping forever. Well, you do, but like about the books. Grab yourself a nice warm drink or a nice cold glass of water, seeing it's like really hot today, and let's get right into the video. So, first book that I read this month, The Bridge Kingdom, one of like the only 2 physical books I read. I read The Bridge Kingdom and then I read book 2, which is The Traitor Queen. So basically this is like a 6-book series, but it's composed of 3 duologies. So I just read the first duology. I do definitely want to continue because I did enjoy these. I gave this one 3.5 stars and I gave the second one 3.75 stars. Honestly, I really should have written down what I thought of it like in my review because I read these at the beginning of the month, and then since then it's been 4 weeks, and also I had my exam, so like I had to revise for a lot of stuff, so literally everything that wasn't important has left my brain. So what did I think of these books? Let me think what happened. Yeah, honestly doing a book review and not remembering the book, that's great. Well done, Laura. I think I've seen quite mixed opinions, but I honestly really liked it. I'd also read Danielle Jensen's other series, The Saga of the Unfated, I believe it's called, but I really liked these. I thought they were fun. I liked our main character, how she was kind of like ruthless. I feel like we don't get a lot of female main characters that are ruthless, and so I kind of appreciate that, although there were times when I got like really pissed off because obviously there's a question of like 2 different kingdoms and they each have very different opinions on something, and at the beginning it's kind of like unclear which one's actually in the wrong and which one's in the right, and obviously it's like deliberately misleading. And our main character, obviously she's from a certain kingdom, so she thinks a certain way, and it's kind of frustrating as a reader to see that and see that like, well, sometimes, you know, what you thought was right isn't. The character does stupid things and you're like, no, you're gonna regret that so much, and then they do end up regretting it and you're like, yeah, I told you. That's just, you know, that's the fun of books. But I don't remember why I liked the second one more. I must have, because I gave it 0.25 stars more, but I don't remember why. I got kind of confused as to the timing of how long the book took, especially in the first one. I think it spans a year, this first book or something, which I was kind of confused about. There were a lot of time jumps of like, it would kind of fast forward a month and just give you like a paragraph recap of what happened that month. I don't remember. This is a terrible book review, I apologize. I liked Lara, I liked Aaron as well. It was fun. It was just like, I don't know, it was a goofy little romance. I don't know if it was necessarily supposed to be like a full-on enemies lovers, or it was more like an arranged marriage of 2 separate kingdoms. I think it was more that than really, I wouldn't call this enemies lovers because I think they end up liking each other quite quickly, despite obviously Lara not wanting to like him because she was like manipulating him and everything. But it wasn't really enemies lovers. But I don't think that took away from my enjoyment of the book. I just think if you're going into expecting like a proper good enemies lovers, this isn't that, but it was still fun. I do like in like typical series when you have like the first book, which is in one country, in one thing, setting up kind of like the world and the conflict and the characters, and then you have like the second book which kind of expands on the world a bit more and you get to see like different parts of the map. So I liked how in the second book we got to see more of the universe, and we got to meet the characters that I'm pretty sure are going to be the main characters in book 3 and 4. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. I think it's going to be fun. I just liked our main character in this. I thought she was, again, I feel like I say this now for every book I read, but maybe that's a good thing, but I felt like she was quite a unique main female character. She was quite bold, she was kind of a bit mean in her own way. Like she was very manipulative, but like that was her job. She was sent there as a spy. She was sent there to manipulate and everything, and I thought she did a good job of it. I don't know. I really liked this book. I thought it was fun. It was just a good, easy fantasy duology. I do think you could definitely just read these two and not continue into the series. You would maybe have some like unanswered questions, but nothing major. But I definitely want to, because I like Danielle Jensen's writing. I like her female main characters, and it was just all in all a fun time. Next off, we read Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising. So that is Shadow and Bone book 2 and 3, because I read book 1 in, I think it was July or August last year, but I was in a reading slump and I did intend to continue with the series. I wanted to get the entire series done last summer, but I was bored, quite frankly, not gonna lie. I didn't like book 1. I think I've said that before on here as well. I gave book 1 like 2 stars. Didn't love it. Thought it was not the best written, badly done. I will say these books get better. They're definitely slightly better written, that's for sure. Story-wise, I think I'm gonna prefer Six of Crows. I don't know. I just felt like this story, maybe, I think it might be a case of I read it at the wrong time. If I'd have read it when I was younger, I would have loved it, but I think just reading it older, everything felt a bit too convenient. Like a lot of things got wrapped up really nicely. Maybe, I don't know, I just expected better. I gave them 2.5 and 3 stars respectively, so they were kind of like mid books. I just think I read them at the wrong time. I'm happy I finished the series because it means I'll finally be able to move on to Six of Crows, but honestly I didn't love the series and I wouldn't do a reread. And you can read Six of Crows without reading these 100%. You don't even get a mention of the Six of Crows characters. I just personally wanted to read them first. Yeah, I think Leigh Bardugo's writing style did definitely improve over the 3 books, and well, each book did improve, as you could tell from my rating, but I still didn't love it. I thought that the pacing was always off. I felt like you'd have kind of 80% of the book when nothing really happened, or things were happening that weren't that important, and then you have the last 20% where you'd have like the battle, and then everything would get wrapped up and they'd be ready for the next book. So that wasn't great. I did like Nikolai. He was my favorite character, which obviously I like me a comic relief character, so he was like funny. There were some lines in it that were like really funny. I was chuckling and everything. Just the story wasn't there, so I didn't love them. I didn't love them. I think they could have done so much more with it, and I think part of the reason they didn't is probably because it was like, it is a YA book series, so obviously they couldn't do anything too much because it's for younger readers. But I think just as an older reader who's read a lot of older fantasy recently, like a lot of the fantasy I'm reading of late has been like for older readers, and so I think I don't know, I expected more. I feel like they could have done so much more with the Darkling, who's like the bad guy, but who also like a divided bad guy, a tortured bad guy, and I think they could have just done so much better with his relationship with Alina and how they wrote that. Instead, I don't know. Everything felt too easy. It felt very YA, but I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. I think if you really like YA books, or if you're just a younger reader, I think you'd love it. I just don't think it was for me. Next off, we read The Grey Warren, which is book 3 in the Dreamer trilogy. So you're book 1, Call Down the Hawk, book 2, Mr. Impossible, and then book 3, The Grey Warren. I read The Grey Warren. I'd read the other 2 in February of last year, so over a year ago, and I would definitely not recommend doing that with book series. If you have a book series, read it all at once, or at least read it as close together as possible, not a year apart, because I was reading book 3, the first 20% I would say, I was confused because I didn't remember what had happened. I was reading about characters and I was like, wait, is this person? Is this who this is? I was seeing things happen, so I was like, oh, okay. But it was very confusing, and it did definitely take away from the reading experience. As it was, I still really like that book. I gave it 3.5 stars because I just love Maggie Stiefvater's writing style in this universe, at least. I know she's written other books, but I've never read them. I've only read her Raven Boys series and now this. I thought it was really nice. It was, again, everything got wrapped up, I felt, a bit too conveniently. Maybe it's because I was confused at the beginning, but I did feel like you had a kind of slow pacing of the book and the ending got wrapped up very quickly. But I remember having the same feeling when I read The Raven Boys, and so I do think her books are really a case of like, the plot is like 20% of why you read the books. The other 80% is the characters and the writing style, because the characters are really just so fun, and I like them this one in the epilogue vlog, we had a little cameo from Blue and Gainsey. I was really happy about that because they're obviously from the Raven Boys and I love them so much, and so I was really happy that they like came back at the end of this. But I did love it. I really like Ronan and Adam as a couple, and also just as individual characters. I love Declan, who's Ronan's older brother, so we meet him in the Raven Boys, but then in this one we actually get his point of view in this series, and I thought it was really fun because in the Raven Boys he's just like, you know, the overbearing, very serious older brother who he always gets in trouble with, and then in this book you kind of see him as a person instead of just like as this older brother figure, and I thought that was really interesting. I like the message kind of in these books. I think they were very pro environment, and I don't know, I just love Maggie Sci-Fi's books. I feel like they are kind of like fever dream in books, and that you kind of read them and you're like, I have no idea what's happening or why it's happening, but I am along for the ride and I'm having such a fun time. So I can't remember what I rated book 1 or 2. Wait a second, let me find it. So book 1 and 2 are both 4 stars. Honestly, I don't think this one was worse. I think it probably is a 4-star series, so like I gave it 3.5 stars, but I honestly think, knowing that I did book 1 and book 2 4 stars, I would say it's also 4 stars. I'd say they're all equally as good as each other. I can't remember the other ones enough to know I like this one more or less, but no, I'd say it's a 4-star series, so it's definitely a good series. But again, I think it's really only going to be a 4-star series for people who fall in love with the characters and the writing style. If you read this book and you're a very plot focused person, like a book needs to have a good logical coherent plot for you to like it, I don't think you will like it. And I think it also helped that I had obviously read the Raven Boys first because it introduces you to the characters, so that kind of vibe of like coming home to your favorite characters that I absolutely love when you get like a spin-off series or a continuation or stuff like that, definitely made it more fun than if I just picked up this series originally and hadn't read the Raven Boys. It was a really nice book. I really liked it, and I liked the ending, that we got a happy ending, because I was worried for a moment, for a big part of book 3, that we would not get like a fully happy ending, and we did, so I was happy about that. But also, oh my god, the plot twist, there were things that happened that literally made you rethink the entirety of this series, but also of the Raven Boys series, which was absolutely crazy. I kind of like when authors do that. I think it's really fun because then it makes you want to go back and read the original series with this new knowledge. And so I really liked that. It was really good. Honestly, yeah, I'm really happy that I finished it, although I would definitely, if I could go back, I would read it immediately after reading book 1 and 2, because then I wouldn't be lost for like the first 20% of the book. Okay, and then the last book that we read in the finishing book series reading vlog was Once and Future book 2, so Sword in the Stars. I love this book. I read book 1 in September 2020. So 2.5 years ago. So again, this one at the start I was actually very confused, again more confused, because there was literally this character I remember being like, when's he gonna show up? I'm looking forward to seeing him, it's gonna be fun. And then they mentioned just that he died and they were sad about it, and I was like, wait, what? I completely forgot that happened, so I like had to relive his death all over again. So that was like fun. But aside from that, I did manage to pick it up a bit quicker, I think, than the Raven Boys. Like, I was more confused at the beginning, but I got into it a bit quicker because the story wasn't as confusing. Plus, it was only 1 book that I had to remember instead of 2. But I absolutely loved this book. If anyone want to go back and reread the first one again, I read it so long ago that I really don't remember. I don't remember liking it as much as I read this one, so maybe I did and I forgot. Maybe because it was 2.5 years ago, my reading tastes have changed. But I just thought this was really fun. It's obviously a King Arthur retelling, and I read quite a few of those. It's such a fun cast of characters, and I absolutely love the found family that they created amongst themselves. Honestly, because I read it so far away from the first book, I mean, I kind of took it almost as if it was a standalone and kind of like ignored that there had been a previous book. I have no memory from the first book, so maybe I will go and reread it one day because it was just so fun. It's just such a crazy story. It's really different from any books I've ever read. There we go, said it again. This is like the sentence I'm always saying on this channel. It's so different from anything else I've ever read. It was just a really fun time. I was like laughing at it, I was getting my feet. It just made me feel really happy. It was like a really good, I would say it's a really good summer book, even though I don't know if you'd necessarily associate science fiction books and summer, but it felt like a really summery book to me just because it was so positive and so happy, and so I felt like that would be like perfect for summer. It's like just good vibes. I gave it 4 stars. It was really fun, and I was like sad to leave this cast of characters behind because I really liked them, and over the course of the book, without having even read the first book, I grew really attached to them because I think they're just such a fun, diverse and unique cast of characters. And considering that the book isn't that long, only like 350 pages, you know, just like normal book length, I felt like we got really good insight into the characters, and that the story was also properly developed, and I don't know, it was just really interesting. I liked how this one, you also had time travel. So like originally the series is set in space in the future, and then in this one they went back to like the OG King Arthur time. That was really fun because it kind of made the King Arthur retelling like even more real because they were in the King Arthur story instead of just being a basic retelling. So I really liked that. That was really fun, and I kind of love time travel in books, especially back to medieval times, because it was really interesting to see just how different it was to like their time, which is in the future from us. So them going back to medieval times was like a crazy change, because for one, they were no longer on space, they were like on Earth. So just that is a pretty big change. I really liked it. It was a fun, goofy read. I think this duology, if you're just looking for like a just quick, silly, fun time duology, this still has like positive messages in it and is really just uplifting. I would definitely recommend that. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed it and it was a really good book. So yes, we read this book. And then we didn't read anything for 10 days because I was studying, and well, first I was preemptively editing all my videos that I filmed so that I could schedule them so I wouldn't have to edit them while I was studying. And then I was studying, and then I was so over studying and I needed a break, and I didn't want to just be scrolling on my phone. So I was like, I need to pick up a book because I'm going crazy. I haven't read in 10 days. And so I did pick up Pride of the Orange Tree because I was like, it's a big book, and so I'll be able to just read it slowly over 2 weeks and I'll get it done at the end of 2 weeks. Except that was really stupid because when you're tired from studying and just generally tired, you don't want to pick up an 800-page book. So I'd kind of look at it and be like, okay. And then bought this book on Vinted because I found out that my all-time favourite fanfiction, because I'm not a big fanfiction reader, I never have been, but I had a phase like when I was 15 probably when I read a bit of fanfiction, and it was Draco Malfoy, and there was one that I read that I absolutely loved. And so I just found out recently that the author kind of got it traditionally published as like a college romance book. So I bought that, and that arrived, and I was like, well, you know what? This 800-page serious book is not helping me distract myself. So let's read this like fun, goofy little romance that I know I'm gonna love because it's based off of a fanfiction that I loved, and it's based off of a Draco Malfoy fanfiction. And so I did. And that was Lessons in Faking, and oh my god, this is my favourite book I read this month, and I actually love this book, and there are 2 more books in this series. I am already planning on reading them because this was so good. I was worried because obviously a college romance is very different than Draco Malfoy fanfic, because for one, the stakes are so much lower because like there's not Voldemort trying to kill them. But basically the concept of the fanfiction was that Harry Potter had a twin sister and she got sorted to Slytherin, and then her and Draco like started fake dating to piss Harry off, and then from that, you know, it escalated and it followed them from year 3 to their last year and everything, and it was really, really good. I think it's like the biggest Draco Malfoy fanfiction on Wattpad. I loved it basically. This book was actually so good. I had nothing to worry about. It was so fun. I loved it. It was obviously the stakes are different, but the main thing was the same in that she is a twin sister and her twin brother, their parents died when they were younger, and that her twin brother's so focused on his like school and keeping his life like organized that he doesn't really pay attention to her except when she's doing something wrong. She decides to date Dylan McCarthy, who is kind of his football rival, just to piss him off, and it is so fun. It is such a fun time. I really liked it. I really like our 2 main characters, and while it was just a silly goofy romance, it also dealt with obviously the grief that our main character Italia Presley experiences because her parents died, and then because like her only remaining family, her brother, they don't really get along very well ever since her parents died, and it dealt with that really well. And she also kind of has anxiety at times. It wasn't just a fun silly romance, like it was a fun silly romance. Oh my god, it was so fun. It was so goofy. I loved it so much. There was the typical scene which I actually didn't know I loved until I read this book and was like, oh wow, I love that, when she gets sick and he comes over and takes care of her, and he changed her sheets. Like, I'm sorry, I said to my sister and she was like, I wouldn't want a man changing my sheets, and I was like, I would. He could come and change my sheets whenever he wants. So I really liked this. It was so fun. And then he invited her over for Thanksgiving because like Thanksgiving is when her parents died, and he knew she'd be sad, and she hadn't fallen out with her best friend just before, so he knew she wouldn't be going to her best friend, so he invites her over. His family was so cute. It's just, I love this book. It also had the thing which I absolutely love. This is my all-time favorite trope of romance, and that is the like he fell first. So basically in this they decide to fake date, and in it they write a fake dating rule which is do not fall in love with Dylan McCarthy. Like he writes the list and he writes that for her. He's like, don't fall in love with me, so fake dating. She adds or Talia Presley because she's like, well, you can't fall in love with me either. Except reading this, obviously I knew from the fan fiction the baseline of what happens, but reading this, basically he at this point already had a crush on her, and so him being like, don't fall in love with her, well, he didn't want to write it because he knew it wasn't true. He knew that if he started fake dating her, then he was going to fall in love with her, and he did, and it was so cute. I really like that when you have like, you find out that the guy was actually like head over heels. I really liked it. It's not an enemies to lovers, and I don't think he even really pretends to be. No, basically the guy is her brother's rival, and so it's not enemies to lovers. Like at first they have a kind of like banter of, he recognizes that he is her brother's rival and she recognizes that he is her brother's rival. Like they both recognize that they shouldn't like each other, so they have a kind of like a meanish banter, but really it just makes it so much funner in the long run for reading this book, and I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I absolutely flew through this. So yeah, I didn't read anything for 10 days, then I read this book in like 2 days, and then I didn't read anything for the rest of the month because I was just so busy with my exams and with studying and everything. But this was actually the perfect book to read during exam time because my brain just got to relax, and I literally, there were so many times when I was literally just reading this on the sofa and like giggling. This book literally had me giggling and kicking my feet. I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star read. There are 2 more books in this series. There are more books, and I will definitely be reading these because I just know that they're going to be the perfect kind of little fun romance book for when I need a break from either reading serious books or when I'm feeling quite busy and tired and worn out. I think these are the perfect book for that. So yeah, I read this book and I absolutely loved it, in case you couldn't tell. But there you have it. That is my little wrap up of all the books I read in the March of May. None of that sentence was correct. In the month of April. I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, there were some books I didn't like, but I also read a really fun 5-star read, and I read 7 books, which is a lot more than I expected to read. So all in all, it was a pretty decent reading month. I had fun, you know. I felt quite accomplished with my thing this month because I read more books than I planned reading. I read a book I really enjoyed, and I checked 3 series off my list of series I have to finish. So I didn't read as much as I would other months, but I still feel pretty good about what I did read. But anywho, I hope you liked this video. If you did, do not hesitate to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channels. I post videos every Friday and then on the first Monday of the month when I do my recap. We are at the end of the video, unfortunately, and so I must bid you adieu. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will see you next Friday for my next video. Until then, bye.